Is the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6 worth it? Well, that's a difficult question to answer, and I'm going to try and do that in this video because there was a lot of impressive things about the phone. I think that it's probably the most improved phone that I've seen in the last year or two. They made so many changes, they listened to the audience, they made a lot of fixes, a lot of updates, but the big problem is it's not available here in the United States directly. They're not selling here in the US market, so you have to go through some sort of other third party to try and buy one. Is it worth the hassle? Is the phone really that improved? That's what I want to talk about in this video. But before I get into that, I do want to say if this is your first time stopping by the channel, thanks for being here. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. Now let's talk about the Xperia 1 Mark 6. So the Xperia 1 Mark 6 came out guns a-blazing. There was so many different things in their event that I got to see that was a really exciting stuff. There are a few negatives, of course. It's no longer the 21:9 thin tall aspect ratio, and it's no longer got a 4K screen, not even Quad HD Plus. It's 1080p. And that's pretty much the biggest downside. And well, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it is surprising and it is disappointing because you would think they would at least do a Quad HD Plus. I don't know why they didn't. I really don't. Especially whenever they're still charging the price is 1,299 British pounds, basically about $1,300. And well, actually, it's more about $13.99. I think it's worth more than the dollar. I think still. So, yeah, it's not a cheap phone. So if you're going to charge that much money for a phone, why wouldn't you put a Quad HD Plus? It's really sends kind of a bad message when you were a 4K screen for so long, and then all of a sudden you go back not one step but two to 1080p. Are you going to be able to tell the difference? No, not really, because the pixel density is still about 400 pixels per inch just underneath that. That's totally fine. The screen's going to look great. And in fact, they made many changes to the screen. One is a huge battery saver. It's got a LTPO screen, which means that the refresh rate can vary. It doesn't have to be locked in at 120 hertz the whole time like the Xperia 1 Mark 5, which I didn't mind. 120 hertz it all day long, but it does drain the battery significantly doing that. So now the screen can throttle down to 1 hertz. It can go up to 120 hertz, and the screen is 50% brighter. One of the problems I had with the Xperia 1 Mark 5 is I thought the screen should be brighter. It was okay, but then when all the other phones started coming out at 2,000, 2,600 nits brightness, it kind of left the Xperia 1 Mark 5 in the dust. And yeah, I wish the screen was brighter. So we got a brighter screen. We got a better quality screen when it comes to the type of screen and the capabilities that it has. It just happens to be full HD plus. So that does irk me. I know it irks some other people as well. And the availability. Those are the only two negatives really for me when it comes to this phone, other than I still don't believe the selfie camera is upgraded. I get that's not the emphasis of this phone, but if you're going to buy a phone, especially that expensive, I think the selfie camera should be better. But anyway, talking about some of the major improvements. We now have a better battery. So the battery life I thought was okay, largely due to the Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 we have in the Xperia 1 Mark 5. Now we have the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3, and it has the new battery technology. It's some new, more dense technology. They're saying it'll last up to 2 days, and a lot of that has to do with that new screen, combined with a lot of the AI features, combined with that chipset and the battery. So there's like a trifecta of things that went into giving this thing much better battery. And if you come from the Xperia family, you know they haven't traditionally had the best battery life. They haven't managed heat very well, especially the Xperia 1 Mark 4. There were some updates and changes that improved it with the Xperia 1 Mark 5, but the Xperia 1 Mark 6 should be really good whenever it comes to battery, when it comes to heat mitigation, and that'll make it great for gaming. That'll make it great for extended camera sessions, because let's face it, if you buy one of these phones, you're going to want to use it for extended camera sessions. Otherwise, I mean, you're not taking advantage of it, especially with the new camera stuff they got. It's the same primary camera. It's the same ultra wide. So if you don't do a lot of zooming in and you've still got the Xperia 1 Mark 5, it may not be a tremendous upgrade if you don't care about some of that stuff directly in the camera department. But we have the variable aperture zoom, the continuous zoom that we have on the Xperia 1 Mark 5. They've taken that a step further and taken it all the way up to 7.1 times. It's 170 millimeter. So you've got that huge span there in the mid-range department where you've got better zoom capabilities than any other camera on the market. Plus, they added some of their smart features. They worked with Sony Alpha, and they've got better autofocusing stuff that's going on with it, and they've got some AI stuff. It's supposed to be better at point and shoot, which is something that I really wanted, and I thought that the phone needed. I love the Xperia 1 Mark 5. It can take amazing shots, but sometimes I just want to take a quick shot, like in a hurry, and I want it to look really good. And that was kind of the downfall, especially for people who wanted to try the phone, but were kind of turned off by the manual mode experience. So manual mode, you can still, of course, take amazing, fantastic shots, but it's supposed to be improved in the point and shoot department. And one of the things that was a huge turnoff for everybody was the 3 different apps to use for video and camera, which is combined now into one, of course, with the Pro Camera mode. They've got a Pro Video mode coming later this fall. Presumably, it's supposed to get Android 15 very soon after it comes out. So they're saying this fall, with the big Android update, we should be getting that. So that's cool too. We've got better speakers, which the speakers I thought were okay, but now we've got even better speakers. And we've still got the headphone jack. It's got eSIM. It's still got a regular SIM card slot, and it's still got all the other stuff that you love. Of course, wireless charging, regular charging, all that jazz. It's got still the textured glass on the back, which I love. One of my favorite features. Still has the contoured edges inside. So there's a lot about this phone that I really like. And I think, like I said, it's one of the most improved phones out there in the market. Here we are talking about the iPhone. It's like, oh, we got a new zoom camera. That's it. We went from, with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, they gave us a 5 times telephoto instead of the 3 times, which they still left in the Pro. They only gave it to you in the Pro Max, right? So that's kind of sucky. And then there were quite a few improvements with the S24 Ultra, but by and large, when we get a lot of these phones year over year, there's not a whole lot of things that get changed. And it's really nice to see that Sony did a lot of stuff. Now, I know some people still don't think it's gone the distance with software updates, but at least they're promising now 3 years, 3 operating system update versions, and 4 years of security patches. I think that's good. They've been really good for this last year with their software updates, especially if they continue and follow through with their promise. If we get Android 15 very quickly, I'm perfectly fine with 3 years of operating system updates and 4 year security patches, because I think that's as long as usually the meaningful life in a phone, especially like this, because you're going to want to have the latest and greatest camera stuff. By the time we get to 3 or 4 years, there's going to be some significant camera stuff that goes on with it, as long as it's around 3 or 4 years. Now, that right there is a question, because they're not here in the US market anymore. They pulled out of the US market with this phone. And that's very concerning because, well, there's a lot of Sony fans here. I know they don't sell a lot of phones. I know they don't have any very much market share at all. And that's very concerning, because if you look at it and they pull out of the US, like, where do they go next? Like, what happens if next year they decide to quit making phones, right? Are they going to continue to support the phone? Which, yes, they will, because they have a promise on that. They're going to. It's just like LG. LG quit making phones. They still supported their phones for the full 3 years on the software side. So they have a commitment there. They can't just quit, pack up shop, and go home. They just open themselves to a lawsuit. But yeah, it is one of those things where you look at it and go, what's the roadmap for these phones? Are we even going to get another Pro iPhone? We were expecting a Pro iPhone around December, January. That didn't happen, so that was kind of head scratching. And now we have no Xperia 1 Mark 6 in the US, and no real good way to get one here. Now, you can pre-order them now. I believe it comes out on June 5th, June 6th, and that'll be available in the UK. I guess in Europe you can get it, in Japan. So there's still a lot of the world that can buy this phone, except for us across the pond here in the US. So the American audience is kind of screwed. And that's why I want to talk about, is it worth it? Because you're going to pay a lot of money to have that thing imported over here. Now, it's not available on Amazon yet. I checked eBay. Somebody was selling one for like $1,900. Don't let yourself get screwed. If you want the phone, wait. Wait till it works out financially. These things, the price don't stay up for very long. I bought my Xperia 1 Mark IV. I ended up buying the international model last year, or year before last, and I got it off of Amazon a few months later for like $9.99. So if you really want one, I would say wait if you're in the US till it's available and they drop the price on Amazon. Get it for $11.99, $10.99, $9.99. In the next couple of months, this thing will be available that way or on eBay, and you'll be able to get one. The only concern really is the network support. Traditionally, we've had problems with phones and network support we've had problems with network support for international phones. That's not as big of a concern anymore, because we have a lot of standardization when it comes to the modem, whenever it comes to the phone itself with the chipset. So the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3, it's in so many global phones, and it should work here in the US. It's not going to work with AT&T, because AT&T won't whitelist, meaning they won't allow it to work on their network with 5G. So if you have AT&T, you're pretty much out of pocket. It might work with Verizon. I can't guarantee that. It should almost certainly work with full 5G on T-Mobile. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. I really want it. If it were here in the States, I would buy it. I would buy it with my own money because I really want it. I really want the new features. I really like the upgraded stuff. I will forego not having a 4K screen, Quad HD plus. I don't think it's the end of the world. There is a lot of stuff about the phone that I really like. So if it were here and I could get it at normal price, I would go ahead and buy it right now. But it's not, and I'm not going to put myself over a barrel to spend way more money than I should be to go ahead and get it. So if I have to end up buying one of these, then I will wait a month or two or whatever till it comes available on Amazon, and then I will get it for a much more fair price. And I use T-Mobile, at least on one of my couple of SIM cards, so I will be able, I expect to be able to use it here. So that's kind of my thought. I think it's worth it. I think it's the most improved phone that I've seen in the last year or two, and that's saying a lot. And there's a lot of exciting stuff, even with the one or two downsides. But the biggest point of the story is don't put yourself over a barrel. Don't pay hundreds of extra dollars to try and get this thing imported. Buy it from some questionable retailer. Wait till you can get it from Amazon. Wait till you can get it from eBay. Get it at a fair price. And that's my thought. So that's all I got in this video. If you have any questions or comments, please go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. I put them out pretty much every day. And also, I wanted to mention one last thing. They have that new telescopic macro lens capability that looks absolutely amazing. And I love macro photography, and I think that really rounds everything out. Plus, you got the Cinetone 4K, 120 frames per second, all that stuff. So I think it's still going to be an amazing content creation phone, an amazing powerhouse, an alternative to carrying around a DSLR, and it'll just do some special things that other phones don't, which is one of the reasons why I've always loved the Sony phone. So that's all I got. As always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.